If you told me last year I'd leave the noise and chaos of city life for some sleepy little suburb with picket fences, birds chirping like it's a damn Disney movie, and not a single HOA to breathe down my neck, I would have laughed in your face. But here I am, 32, single, and for the first time in years, not sharing a wall with someone who thinks EDM is appropriate at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. I bought the place cash, single story, sleek, modern, with an actual yard. But the real cherry on top? A pool. A pristine, glorious, my name's on the deed pool. I swear I stood at the edge of it my first night here with a beer in hand and thought, this is it. I've peaked. The best part? No HOA. That demonic little acronym has terrorized enough people for a lifetime. This neighborhood was gloriously free of clipboards, lawn measuring tyrants, and random fines for having the wrong shade of beige shutters. I thought I had found paradise. And I had. Almost. Enter Karen. You probably already know the type. Frosted blonde bob, permanently furrowed brow, voice like a blender chewing gravel. She introduced herself within the first 48 hours of me moving in, walked right onto my driveway like she owned it, and handed me a pie that looked suspiciously store-bought and possibly expired. Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm just down the street. If you need anything at all, just ask, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes and a tone that strongly implied she'd prefer I never did. At first, I figured she was just the self-appointed suburban monarch. You know, harmless in small doses. But it didn't take long before I noticed weird things. Like the wet footprints around my pool, when I'd been gone all day, or the slightly shifted pool chairs. Once or twice, I even found towels that weren't mine. At first, I chalked it up to maybe I just forgot I moved something. Or, hell, maybe raccoons had evolved thumbs. Stranger things have happened. But then it happened again. And again. The footprints, the towels, the water level subtly lower like a thirsty ghost had done laps. Finally, one day I caught a glimpse of a very non-raccoon towel, striped, faded, and monogrammed with what I later realized were the initials KT. Karen Thompson. So I did what any sane person would do. I casually brought it up. She was out pruning the 2.5 roses in her front yard like she was prepping them for the Queen's arrival, and I sauntered over, sipping coffee. Hey, weird question. I started, trying to sound breezy. Have you, or maybe someone you know, been using my pool? Karen didn't miss a beat. Oh my no. Why would you think that? I gestured vaguely. Just noticed some things. Towels. Footprints. Water level lower. She blinked, then laughed. Not a "hi, you got me" laugh, but a "how dare you accuse the Queen" laugh. Well, even if someone did hop in once or twice to cool off, what's the big deal? It's not like you're using it all the time. I just smiled. Yeah, true. But, it's still my pool. She waved it off like I'd just complained about a noisy bird. Oh, come on. Neighbors share. That's what a community is. See, that was the moment I knew. No doubt. She'd been using my pool. Probably more than once. And judging by how fast she shut that conversation down, she didn't feel even remotely guilty about it. That's when the idea started forming. I wasn't just going to confront her again. I was going to prove it. And when I did, I wasn't going to go full nuclear. No. I was going to give her a lesson so creative, so poetic, that even Shakespeare would have slow-clapped in admiration. First, I installed security cameras. Not those clunky ones that scream paranoid bachelor, but the sleek little smart cams hidden in the corners of my patio, behind the bushes, and one right under the pool umbrella. Full 4K resolution, motion activated. Let's just say I'd have better coverage than most reality shows. Second, I made a few modifications to the gate. Reinforced the latch, added a discreet lock. Nothing that screamed trap, but enough to make leaving a little complicated should someone enter without permission. And then came my favorite part. It was a sunny Thursday when I spotted Karen out trimming her hedges, or pretending to, more likely eavesdropping on the Smiths across the street. I walked out, phone to my ear, holding a manila folder for effect. Yeah, I'm heading out Friday night, I said loudly enough for her to hear. Gone all weekend. Big trip. Won't be back until Monday afternoon. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her freeze. Just slightly. Then a twitch of a smirk. She turned and trotted back inside her house like she'd just been told the royal vault was unguarded. I went inside, locked the doors, and waited. Saturday morning, I packed a small bag, backed out of the driveway like I was off to Tahoe, and drove exactly 0.6 miles away to a quiet little parking lot behind a dentist's office. From there, I pulled up the live camera feed on my phone. At first, nothing. Then, a minivan pulled up. Then another. And another. By the time the fourth car showed up, I was already grinning. Showtime, I whispered to myself. Through the cameras, I watched as Karen emerged in a bright blue swimsuit and a pair of tacky sunglasses that looked like they were stolen from a 2006 cruise ship. She was laughing, gesturing grandly, leading her little troop of suburban invaders through my side gate and into my backyard like she owned the place. Inflatable flamingos, portable speakers, coolers. They brought coolers, for crying out loud. They were in full party mode. Music, splashing, someone even started grilling. Karen was soaking it all in like the queen of a land she didn't own. I waited. 2 hours. Then I slid my phone back into my pocket, turned the key in the ignition, and smiled. Time to pay the piper. By the time I rolled back onto my street, the party was in full swing. Music thumped like a teenage house party. Someone was laughing loud enough to scare birds out of trees, and from the sidewalk, I could see little splashes leaping over the edges of my pool. It was surreal, like watching a movie where the villain throws a birthday bash in the hero's house, while the hero watches from the bushes. Except I wasn't hiding anymore. I parked a few houses down. No need to make a scene, yet. Walked calmly down the sidewalk, past the neighbor's confused golden retriever, turned the corner, and there they were. A whole flock of middle-aged Karens and Kens, margaritas in hand, sunbathing like they'd just discovered Cabo in my backyard. They didn't even see me, which, frankly, made what came next all the more satisfying. I slipped through the side gate, now reinforced with my little surprise, a double-bolt padlock, shut it quietly, and clicked the lock. Click. Then I cleared my throat. Loudly. Karen froze mid-toast. Some guy nearly choked on a chicken wing. Everyone turned. "Oh hey, Karen," I said, smiling as if I'd just dropped by for tea. "Lovely weather for a pool party, huh?" Karen blinked at me, like I was some hallucination brought on by too many mojitos. "Why, you're supposed to be gone." "Yeah, well," I shrugged. "Turns out plans change." A silence fell over the yard like a blanket of awkwardness. Karen scrambled out of her lounge chair, face twisting into that familiar mix of denial and fury. This is just a misunderstanding. I thought you were okay with us being here, right? That's why you waited until I left to break in and host Club Med in my backyard." I gestured around at the beach balls, floaties, half-eaten fruit trays, and Karen's poor attempt at ambience. Real subtle. One of the guests, a guy in a backward cap holding a plate of ribs, turned to Karen. "Wait, you said this was your place." Karen's eyes widened. "No, I mean, I know the owner. He's a friend." "Oh, we're friends now," I said, raising an eyebrow. "You've used my pool without asking, lied to your friends, and decided to host a party on my property. That's a pretty creative definition of friend." Karen's cheeks turned the shade of an overripe tomato. "Look, we'll leave, okay?" I leaned against the locked gate casually. "About that, gate's locked." Now that got their attention. "What? Is this a joke? You can't lock us in." "Oh, I can." And I did. Gasps all around. Someone dropped a drink. Karen looked like she might spontaneously combust. "I'd be happy to let you all out," I said cheerfully, "but first payment." Karen's jaw hit the patio. "Payment? Are you out of your mind?" "Nope," I said, pulling out my phone. "See, I've got footage, lots of it, of you and your friends trespassing, partying, and generally treating my home like your personal vacation rental. I figure $500 per head should cover usage fees, wear and tear, and emotional trauma." "Emotional trauma?" Karen hissed. "Yeah, it's very stressful watching strangers cannonball into your pool on a live stream." The crowd was starting to turn. A woman in a sun hat leaned toward Karen. "You said it was your house. You made us pay for snacks." Karen hissed through her teeth. I'll handle this. He's just trying to intimidate us." I smiled. "Well, if I'm intimidating, Maybe you should call the cops. Karen straightened, triumphant. Yes, that's exactly what I'll do. Great idea, I said. Please do. Let's see what they think about you breaking and entering, using my private property, hosting an unauthorized event, and possibly violating multiple municipal codes. I'll be more than happy to show them the footage. Timestamps and everything. Karen opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. Karen, someone called from behind her. What the hell? She turned. Faces were turning against her like a mutiny on a sinking yacht. I didn't mean, she began, voice cracking. Oh, I think you did, I said smoothly. But don't worry. I'm a reasonable guy. Just cough up the entry fee, and I'll unlock the gate. A moment of silence. Then a voice from the back. How much? 500, I said again, folding my arms. I'll pay, the guy said. Just let me out of this psycho's house. Karen spun around. Don't you dare. He can't do this. The guy ignored her, pulled out a wad of cash, because apparently middle-aged dads carry more cash than convenience stores, and handed it to me. I unlocked the gate just long enough for him to exit, then relocked it with a satisfying click. He left without another word, shaking his head. More followed. One by one, people who just wanted to forget this weekend ever happened approached the toll booth, me, and paid their fee. Some apologized. One woman actually thanked me for handling it so calmly. Finally, only Karen remained. She stood by the pool, arms crossed, face twitching. This is extortion. I grinned. Nope. This is called consequences. She stomped over, yanked $1,000 wad from her designer bag, which was at least 3 seasons old, and shoved it into my hand. 1,000. Generous, I said, pretending to weigh the bills like they were produce. But fair. After all, this isn't your first offense, and you did host the whole event. Lucky I'm not charging you double. Her eyes narrowed to slits. You'll regret this. Oh, I doubt that very much. She shoved past me and stormed out the gate, sunglasses crooked on her nose, sun hat askew. I relocked the gate behind her and just stood there, enjoying the silence. And then I heard it. Karen, someone said from down the street. Don't ever call us again. Multiple voices joined in agreement. Tires squealed. Doors slammed. The little parade of cars peeled out of the neighborhood faster than they'd arrived. Karen just stood there, alone, shoulders slumped, dignity leaking out of her like air from a popped floatie. She hovered for a moment on the sidewalk, like maybe someone would come back. No one did. I almost felt bad for her. Almost. The next morning felt unusually quiet. Peaceful even. Like the neighborhood was collectively nursing a hangover from Karen's impromptu pool party disaster. I sat on my porch with a mug of strong coffee and a smug little smirk that just wouldn't quit. Every now and then, I'd glance toward Karen's house. Curtains drawn. No sign of life. Not even her usual early morning stomping across the porch in clogs. It was like she'd vanished. Not that I blamed her. Word had spread fast. Suburb gossip travels quicker than wildfire through dry grass, and Karen's name was now synonymous with that crazy pool-crashing liar. Apparently, some of her friends had kids on the local soccer team, and those kids loved telling stories. By Tuesday, I was officially that guy who charged Karen $1,000 to escape his backyard, which was fine by me. Legendary status comes in many forms. But the best part? Even with all the moral satisfaction, I was also financially satisfied. I sat down later that week and ran the numbers. 10 guests at $500 a pop. One at the end gave me $600 for the hassle. Karen's premium exit tax added another $1,000. Subtract a few costs, security cams, reinforced gate, extra chlorine for the soup they turned my pool into, and I was still a cool $5,000 plus ahead. And that, my friends, is how you turn your Karen problem into a side hustle. A few neighbors even gave me that nod of respect when I passed. You know the one. Head tilt, slight smile, the you did what we all wanted to do expression. The Johnsons 2 doors down left a 6-pack of craft beer on my porch with a note that just said, Legend. I didn't disagree. Still, something nagged at me. I hadn't seen Karen. At all. Not on the sidewalk. Not through the windows. No clogs, no forced chit-chat. Not even a passive-aggressive note in my mailbox, which, for her, bordered on unnatural. Then came Saturday. Same porch, same coffee, different energy. That's when I saw it. A moving truck. Big. Loud. Backing into Karen's driveway like it meant business. I almost choked on my coffee. It rolled toward Karen's old place, now conspicuously lacking flamingos, fairy lights, or any other dollar store decor designed to convince people she was some kind of poolside lifestyle influencer. The mover stepped out. Efficient. Focused. Inside the house, someone opened the door from the inside and motioned to them. And then, like a ghost from a canceled reality show, she appeared. Karen. Dark sunglasses. Tense jaw. Hair in what I assume was an attempt at a low-maintenance chic bun, but looked more like got out of bed and screamed at a UPS guy. Her shoulders were lower this time. Her steps slower, like the walk of shame. Except instead of heels and regret, she wore orthopedic sandals and public humiliation. She didn't glance at anyone, didn't nod, didn't breathe in the suburban air she once patrolled like a mall cop. The movers worked efficiently, hauling out the remnants of her overcompensation, trendy chairs with tags still attached, a set of novelty wine glasses that said Pool Queen in gold script, a punch bowl I'm pretty sure I saw floating in my pool last weekend. She stood to the side like an extra in her own life, arms crossed, jaw tight. I was halfway through wondering if she'd make eye contact when, finally, her sunglasses tilted just slightly toward me. We locked eyes. For a microsecond, the air went still. She knew. She knew I'd seen everything. The party, the downfall, the movers, and most importantly, the price tag. Her face twitched just once. Then she looked away, climbed into the passenger seat of a dull gray sedan, and shut the door. And then came the sign. One of the movers jabbed it into the front yard like a dagger. Sold. I leaned back against the porch railing. Guess she'd really had enough of this little neighborhood. Or maybe the neighborhood had had enough of her. I watched in silence as the moving truck finished loading and drove off ahead. Her car followed, slower, like it was ashamed to be associated with her. I'll admit, for a second, I almost felt bad. She looked like someone who'd just been voted off the island and was still trying to pretend she chose to leave. But then I remembered the towels, the lies, the way she tried to sell my property to her friends like a timeshare. No goodbye, no speech, just gone. As her car rolled down the street, I couldn't help myself. I raised my coffee mug like I was making a toast. Be careful out there, Karen, I said under my breath. New neighbors might not be as understanding. Then she turned the corner and disappeared. And just like that, peace returned to the suburbs. I didn't dance. I didn't throw a party. I just stood there a little longer, soaking in the silence. The kind of silence you earn. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't yelling or lawsuits or slamming doors. Sometimes it's charging admission and letting karma handle the rest. Life after Karen? Delicious. The air felt lighter. The sun shone a little brighter. Even the birds seemed to chirp in tune with my morning coffee routine. I swear, the entire block let out a collective sigh of relief when her U-Haul turned the corner and vanished like the ending of a bad sitcom. And I was officially free. But also, $5,100 richer. Let's not gloss over that part. I made more money off that weekend than my buddy Mike made flipping NFTs during the great JPEG bubble of 2021. And while the satisfaction of seeing Karen's polyester swimsuit army scramble out of my backyard with crumpled bills in their hands was priceless, I couldn't help but reflect on just how profitable dealing with the entitled can be, if you play it right. Entitled people are like poorly coded apps, buggy, unpredictable, but extremely exploitable if you know where to press. I sat on my porch that Monday with a fresh cup of Ethiopian roast, flipping through the video footage one last time, because yes, I'd saved it. All of it. Karen organizing pool chairs like she was prepping for Coachella. One of her friends trying to set up a Bluetooth speaker and swearing like he was defusing a bomb. And, of course, the look on Karen's face when I emerged from the metaphorical shadows and locked them all in. Chef's kiss. But beyond the comedy, there was something almost tragic about it. Karen didn't want to swim in my pool. She wanted people to think it was her pool. She needed the illusion, the status, the little power trip of being the hostess, even if it meant hijacking someone else's life to do it. I thought back to that moment, the second her guests realized she'd lied to them, that it wasn't her property, that she was just another sad suburban fraud. It was the social equivalent of her pants falling down in public, except instead of underwear, it was dignity. Now, to be clear, I didn't plan on monetizing the Karen demographic when I moved here. But maybe fate dropped an opportunity in my lap, and I simply gave it the business model it deserved. Let's review. Hidden cameras? Already installed. Check. Lockable gate? Fortified and upgraded. Check. Pool cleaned and ready for future events. Double check. A solid reputation in the neighborhood as the guy who doesn't take crap? Established. You know what that sounds like to me? Infrastructure. So I started sketching out ideas. Karen Fest was the working title. A little tongue-in-cheek celebration of all the Karens of suburbia. Except instead of pool access, attendees get a reality check. Fool me once, you pay the ticket. Okay, fine. I didn't actually plan a festival, but the point stands. There's potential here. You've got Karens. You've got pool envy. And you've got someone like me, quick with a camera, good at playing dumb, and not above charging admission to watch someone's ego collapse in real time. That's the entrepreneurial spirit. But here's the twist. The neighbors, some of whom I barely knew, started showing up. First, it was just polite waves. Then came the subtle chats. Hey, so I heard about what happened. That was amazing. You should have charged her double. Honestly, I've had issues with her too. She once left a note on my car because my tires looked dusty. Apparently, Karen's reign of clipboard terror extended further than I knew. One guy, Tony, from the corner lot, told me she used to walk his dog without asking. Just straight up unlatched the gate and took the poor mutt for unsolicited strolls. She said she was being neighborly. Tony said. I said she was being a felon. We laughed. We bonded. Suddenly, I wasn't just the new guy with the clean lawn and epic revenge. I was the guy who brought down the tyrant queen. You want community engagement? Lock dozen people in your backyard and make them pay for trusting the wrong suburban overlord. It'll do wonders. But the real kicker? 2 days after she left, a realtor rang my doorbell. Hi, just wanted to say, I've had 3 people ask me about your house. Apparently, word got around about that pool and your incident. Incident? She smiled. You know / the Karen thing. It's gone viral on a couple neighborhood forums. People think you're some kind of suburban Robin Hood. I blinked. And that makes people want to buy? She shrugged. They like knowing there's someone around who doesn't take nonsense. So now my house isn't just a home. It's a brand. I didn't plan on becoming the petty folk hero of the cul-de-sac, but I'll be damned if I didn't earn it. And if Karen's out there, somewhere, planning her next poolside coup, well, I hope her new neighbors have security cameras. Or better yet, a PayPal link and a turnstile. A week after Karen's departure, I was back on my porch. Same coffee, same chair, same view. But something about the silence felt upgraded. Peaceful wasn't just a vibe anymore. It was a feature. No more unsolicited pies. No more friendly neighborhood inspections. No more entitled pool hopping and gaslighting. Just birds, breeze, and the faint sound of my bank account whispering, treat yourself. I took another sip and leaned back, fully planning to let the moment settle in, when a slow, low hum reached my ears. I caught a glimpse of the new neighbors pulling up. Young couple, 2 kids, Labrador in the back seat. They looked like the type who'd bring over actual homemade cookies, not half-stale supermarket pies. Good energy. I watched from my porch as they started unloading boxes. Waved. They waved back. The dad gestured at my pool with a smile. Nice setup, he called. Thanks, I replied. Just ask before you use it. He laughed, nodded. Of course. They'll do just fine, I thought. And me? I went inside, opened my laptop, and pulled up a doc titled, How to Monetize Suburban Entitlement, a Case Study. Chapter 1, Install Cameras. By Padlock. Wait for the stupid to arrive. Because hey, some people plant gardens. Some people collect stamps. I run a pool. And sometimes, I sell tickets for the way out. Thank you for being with us. Please share in the comments where you are watching from and whether you liked everything, and see you next time.